Friends and family, how you all doing? This is your brother. This is your boy, Lord Badu. And I want to welcome you to today's broadcast. Today is going to be a very special day, as I always say. Today I have something very unique that I want to go over. And usually on Tuesdays, as I mentioned before, that we were doing our Bible studies. We were going through the Beatitudes. We were really getting it in. We were really getting some knowledge. But today, because of Easter, I was recovering from losing my voice on Easter. As Pentecostals, sometimes we stretch our vocals a little too much. I'm asking for more grace on that. But I was recovering on Tuesday, so we didn't get to do our Bible study. And this week, I wanted to come on live to do it, but then I came across something that really touched me a few weeks ago or a few months ago. And I for some reason, it was just in my heart. And I felt like this is something that we should go over. This is something that we should talk about. And I just want to give some commentary on this video that I saw. This video is titled, "If I Were the Devil." And this is by a broadcaster who goes by the name of Paul Harvey. And I don't just think that this is some random broadcast that he just did on the radio or television one day. I actually believe that the Lord gave him this. I'm not sure of how strong of a believer he is, but from what I'm hearing in this, it sounds like he knows exactly what he's saying. And I believe that this is a prophetic awakening or a prophetic message, a prophetic warning to America, but not only America. This is a prophetic warning to North America and to the world just in general, because the very things he's mentioning here are things that, man, like they're happening right now. And the fact that this was in 1965, sorry, I know I keep looking at my screen. I'm gonna look at the camera the best I can. But the fact that this is in 1965, this is like, the reason I'm saying this is prophetic, I don't know if you guys know what prophetic is, but prophetic is like kind of God giving a message, speaking into the future on certain things, right? And I believe that Paul Harvey is giving a prophetic message. He's giving a prophetic message because in 1965, to say all of these things and happening so accurately, this must have been from God. God must have gave this to him to give to all of us. And we're here today talking about it. So I'm not going to talk too much. I'm going to get into it. And what I'm going to do is, instead of watching the whole video in one take, I'm going to cut it piece by piece so that we can really dissect it and get to the root of everything that he's saying. So let's go.
If I were the devil, if I were the devil, if I were the prince of darkness, I'd want to engulf the whole world in darkness, and I'd have a third of its real estate and 4/5 of its population, but
Okay. I would want to engulf the world in darkness, and I would have a third of the world's real estate. Now, I know this probably is going over a lot of people's heads, but as a pastor, one of the things we do is we look for spaces to buy or to rent to have service. Now, my experience that I've had so far in the last 3 years of coming into ministry, any place that we inquire of having service, as soon as we mention that we are a church, nobody wants to give us the space. As soon as we mention that we are a church, all opportunities shut down. So it came to a point where I'm like, this is actually warfare. Like, this is not a matter of trying to finesse things and trying to use different wordings. And like, this is legitimately warfare, because anywhere we want to go, anywhere we want to plant a church, anywhere we want to say that we want to have service, as soon as we mention the word church, I could say social gatherings, I could say community gatherings, because I've tried it before. And I've always gone to the next stage until they realize, what's the name of the group? Then church of this, right? As soon as we mention church, Nobody gives us the opportunity to even move on in the conversation. So the fact that Paul Harvey here says that I will, if I were the devil, I would take a third of the world's or the country's real estate. Like this is happening right now. Everyone, everyone who is a property owner or is leasing, they will lease the clubs, they will lease to things that are completely degrading, things that are completely sinful. But if you mention church, these guys will not give you a chance at all. They won't even discuss. They won't even raise the price. They will just say, no, we don't want any any church organization here. You guys will cause disturbance to the people. I remember there's even schools that we wanted to use, and they were saying, no, we feel like maybe if other people come in during the time that you guys are having church, they may feel disturbed. And I was just thinking to myself, I'm like, well, why does, like, we're paying for it. Why does it matter if people are walking by and they feel disturbed? But this is what's happening right now, right? It is part of our mandate, especially my church, to plant more churches. So that's something that we do. And I'm seeing how harder and harder it is every single day to plant churches because they don't want to give us no space. They don't want to give us any space to do anything, to talk about Jesus, to do any of those things. So Paul Harvey is spot on here. And this is just a message to all of us. I believe that, as a people of God, it's time to step up when it comes to ownership. We've got to own. We got to take ownership. We got to have ownership of our buildings, our homes. Like we can't have people of the world taking possession of these things and then kicking us out and saying that we can't do certain things that we want to do here. When we own it, nobody can give us any instructions. If we're renting, we're gonna be at the mercy of some people. But when it comes to ownership, that's a whole different level. We're paying for what we want. We're paying for what we have. You can't tell us what to do. But as I said, Paul Harvey is spot on there. He says that he would take a third of real estate. Let's keep going.
I wouldn't be happy until I had seized the ripest apple on the tree, thee. So I'd set about, however necessary, to take over the United States. I'd subvert the churches first. I'd begin with a campaign of whispers. With the wisdom of a serpent, I would whisper to you as I whispered to Eve, do as you please. To the young...
That's deep. I would start with some whispers. If I was the devil, I would start with some whispers in the church. I would start with some whispers in the church. I would start whispering to people and telling them, hey, you guys, listen, you guys could do whatever you want to do. God's gonna forgive you. You could say whatever you want to say. It doesn't matter what anybody has to say because it's between you and God, right? That's what's happening. Whispers in the ears of the people in the church. And I remember when I was doing some business, right? Shout out to my boy Sebastian. He was saying, when you're doing business, you got to be the loudest voice in people's ears, right? And that wasn't only a business lesson to me. That was a life lesson. Because as believers, sometimes the loudest voice in our ear is the devil instead of the word of God. When we allow the world to speak more and the devil to speak more than God speaks, than God speaks to us, then we're going to start gravitating towards the things that the devil is saying. When the devil's whispering in your ear, hey, you have your freedom, you can do this. It doesn't matter what anybody says. It doesn't matter what the preacher says. He's just judgmental. Every Christian is just judgmental. You just do what you want to do. Don't worry about it. It's between you and God. And this is the one thing that I want people to understand. Though it's between you and God, God brings people around you to bring correction sometimes so that you don't have to face the final judgment. Honestly. That thing between, that's between me and God. Yeah, yeah. Oh, that's cool. It is between you and God. But God brings people to you to save you sometimes. And it's very important that we must not listen to the whispers of the enemy. The serpent would just whisper certain things to you. Man, you're depressed. He'll whisper to you, God says that he can do all things, but he really can't. He'll whisper to you things like questions. Like, if God says this, then why is this happening? See, he whispers to you, and you start questioning God. You start questioning yourself. You start questioning everything that's happening around you. Does God really love you? If he really loves you, then why don't he let your husband die, or your wife die, or your grandparents, your brothers, your sisters? If God really loved you, why would all these things be happening to you? The devil will whisper. Paul Harvey spot on this. This is 1965. 1965. Let's continue on with what he has to say.
I would whisper that the Bible is a myth. I would convince them that man created God instead of the other way around. I would confide that what's bad is good and what's good is square.
Hold on. There's a lot that he said there. He said that I would convince you that the Bible is a myth. Let's just stop there. I would convince you that the Bible is a myth. How much do we hear this on a regular basis? See, for those who are into apologetics and those who are into evangelism, the evangelistic ministry and things like that, reaching out to people, you're gonna hear this a lot. Like, oh, the Bible's just a myth. The Bible is created by a bunch of men who just wanted to inspire and who wanted to, kind of give people a proper moral life to live, and those type of things, right? And sometimes we don't have the answers. So we feel as if these people are correct. And even though we know that there's a right answer, we don't have that answer. It's like they beat us in the argument because we have no response. These people the devil will whisper and cause confusion in the minds and the hearts of people. Man, did this really happen? Noah's Ark. Why would God flood the earth and rain? It would rain for 40 days and 40 nights. Did this really happen? Or is this just a lesson that he's trying to teach us? Why would God meet with the devil and Job and have a conversation about him? I got that one. That one really hit me. That one really hit me. Right? The devil would whisper these things into people's minds and in their hearts, and it would really arrest them. Right? Then he says that the devil would I would whisper that what's bad is really good, right? Pornography and having multiple partners, these things are okay to do. These are normal things. You don't have to worry. Biologically speaking, men should cheat. No, they shouldn't. Right? But these are the things that the world is teaching us, that this is okay. There's nothing wrong with cheating. It's normal. Now you don't need to get married to be with your partner anymore. That's old school. Nah, man. You don't need to go there. Right? And this is what the devil is doing right now. This is what he's doing right now. And I just find this message is so powerful from Paul Harvey.
And the old I would teach to pray after me, Our Father, which art in Washington.
Let me just pause there. Our Father who art in Washington. It's almost like you're depending on the government more than you're depending on God, and that's one thing I'm starting to see in this generation. I see it especially in a lot of podcasts and a lot of YouTube videos. You see so many people. The debates over politics is insane. And I know that there's an entertaining part of it, but the debates over politics is crazy. And people have put their trust in Joe Biden, in Donald Trump, in Justin Trudeau. What Canada's it's a whole different ballgame. But people are putting their trust in our leaders and in the government instead of putting their trust in God. And that's why we see what we see in our world today. When you trust the government more than you trust God, yeah, you're headed down the wrong path. If you're trusting the government, oh, the government is the one that's going to make us rich. The government is the one that's going to help us in our lives. The government is going to raise our children. You found yourself in big trouble. The government is not there to be God. God is God. Let the government be the government and let God be God. When he says he's king over all things, he's the one that you should probably trust in because he knows what's right for you. He knows what's right for your family. He's the one that created you. So his plans for you are better than the government has for you. From what I know, the government never has good plans for their people. The government says a bunch of things, but they never fulfill it. Of course, some governments are okay. Don't get me wrong, right? But the government can never take the place of God Almighty. Let's continue.
And then I'd get organized. I'd educate authors in how to make lurid literature exciting so that anything else would appear dull and uninteresting. I'd threaten TV with dirtier movies and vice versa. I'd peddle narcotics to whom I could.
I would make TV dirty. Like that's pretty much what he's saying. I would make TV dirtier. And the one thing I see today is every video, every movie on Netflix, on Amazon, doesn't even matter. Even Disney Plus is getting there, right? Like everything is filled with pornography. Everything is filled with lust. You can't even watch anything in enjoyment anymore without having to skip a scene or having to just turn off the movie completely because everything is filled with pornography and lust, soft porn, everything. It's all in there. And this is one of the devil's tactics to completely pollute the mind. And that's why we have so many men in this generation that are trapped and hooked on pornography. They can't break loose. They can't get out of it. They're stuck. They're stuck. Because it's everywhere. It's everywhere. I remember I completely got off social media for like 2 years. Because every time I would open my phone, something would just pop up. I'm just like, nah, man, I'm not doing this. I'm not doing this. I'm a married man. I'm a man of God. I don't have time. And people would say, oh, it's because of the stuff you're watching. No, it's not because of anything I'm watching. It just pops up. It just is always there. I remember my younger brother was telling me, hey, man, you gotta whatever you watch the most. Like if you watch basketball, it's only basketball. That's not necessarily true. The algorithm somehow knows. I don't know, but I was just thinking to myself, I'm like, for me, the only way for my eyes to be clean is just to get off completely. So I did. And those are probably the best 2 years of my life. That was actually within the year I got called into ministry as a pastor. And I was thinking to myself, I'm like, man, these were times complete consecration. Like despite social media being a waste of time in the sense of like it just takes up all your time. One of the reasons was that so many random things keep popping up on my phone and I didn't like it. If I say that I want my eyes to be clean, I made a covenant with my eyes that I'm not gonna see anything lustful or anything wicked. I legitimately put that in my heart, put that in my mind, and I apply that to every aspect of my life. So I turned everything off. I just say, hey, I don't have time for this. And it was amazing. The results were amazing because I got so much more done. My mind was clear. I was just able to move in freedom, not having to to close my eyes and panic when no, nope, I'm cool. Right? But this is an attack from the enemy. The enemy wants men to be trapped in lust. And have you noticed, I don't know, men who are watching this right now, have you noticed that when you're trapped in lust, you become like the most laziest person in the world. You're not motivated. You always feel down. You always feel guilty. You always feel depressed. Like these are things that the devil intentionally does to men. Men are supposed to be the complete opposite of everything that I mentioned. Men are not supposed to be lazy. Men are supposed to be hardworking. Men are supposed to be go-getters. They're supposed to be hustlers. They're supposed to get up and do something. But when you are trapped in lust, especially pornography, you completely see the opposite happening in your life, and you're not able to get things done. You sleep in your bed all day and stay in the dark, and you become, excuse my language, you become a bum. Right? These are the things that happen to people who get overcome by lust and pornography. But this is the devil's plan, and this is what he's doing. And it's crazy because it's all around us. Everywhere.
Sell alcohol to ladies and gentlemen of distinction. I'd tranquilize the rest with pills. If I were the devil, I'd soon have families at war with themselves, churches at war with themselves, and nations at war with themselves.
Yeah. I would have families at war with themselves, churches at war with themselves, and nations at war with themselves. You know the one of the devil's biggest attacks is on family. And I mentioned this before. The reason I believe so is because the family is what makes the church, and the church is what's here to save the world. When the family unit is united and the church is united, we become unstoppable. But when we are divided, we are not able to complete all things that we need to do and all things that we want to do because there's no peace. Now, the devil, Paul Harvey says if he was the devil, he would divide families. He would divide churches. He would divide nations. The church, I believe, is the greatest gift to the world. But excuse me to say, there's too much division in the church. It's okay to be from different denominations. Excuse me. It's okay to be in, have some different doctrinal beliefs. It's okay. But we shouldn't be at war with each other. You can have differences and still exist together. You can still live together. It's okay. We're all one in Christ. But the church has so much war within itself. Did you forget you're a family? See, the Bible says don't be ignorant of the devices of the devil. Don't be a fool and let the devil take advantage of you. He knows what he's doing. But if he knows what he's doing, we should also know what he's doing, and we should counter what he's doing. So if he's trying to bring division, we should bring unity. He's dividing nations. Look at all the war look at all the war that has happened this year, last year, this year. Ukraine, Russia, all these things that are happening, and it's insane. It's crazy. Israel. But unity is something that God has given to us. And when we use it, we're going to see the world change. Let's keep going.
Until each in its turn was consumed. And with promises of higher ratings, I'd have mesmerizing media fanning the flames. Mm-hmm. If I were the devil, I would...
Let's pause it there. I remember a man of God once said that. He believes that the media is actually the mark of the beast, or like the beast, the Antichrist. Because the media never has anything good to say. The media is always always trying to bring negative news, always trying to bring fear into people, always trying to bring destruction. Excuse me. This is the job of the media. They give false news all the time, and because we don't look for the truth, we believe what the media gives us. Like, can you imagine? BBC and Fox and CNN, they all have an agenda. If you've noticed news outlets, like they all gear towards one side. So one may be like Republican and one is like Democratic, and then one is like this and one is like that. Every news station, every media outlet has a specific target group audience, right? So whatever you watch, you're not watching the full truth. You're watching the truth in light of what they want you to see, right? What they want you to hear. They don't give you the full thing. They don't give you what's actually happening. It's the media. They cut things out. They put things in, right? And this is unfortunately what it is. But some of us have been so blinded. There's a song called "Bamboozle" by this rapper named Bizzle. We've been bamboozled, right? We don't look for truth. So whatever people say here, oh, did you see? I remember I even fell for a trap one time. I'm like, I was telling my brother, I'm like, man, you see Kemba drop 90 points in or wherever he's playing. He's playing like Europe or something. He's like, bro, what are you talking about? Kemba's like on the bench. Like, Europe is nice. I'm like, bro, Kemba dropped 90 points. And I'm like, I saw a video on YouTube too. And I felt so dumb because I'm like, I started thinking about like, this guy didn't drop 90 points. They put a bunch of clips together. I wasn't even paying attention. I was just so happy that Kemba was doing well when he left the NBA. Kemba Walker, by the way, he's an NBA player. I was just thinking about it. I'm like, dang, I got bamboozled, bro. But it happens to the best of us. It happens to the best of us. And the one thing that we have to do is always search for truth. Always search for truth. We must not believe the media outlets, even if they say something. Sometimes just do your own little research. Like for instance, the one thing I realize is anything that has to do, any bad news that comes with Christianity, like a pastor did something weird or church did this, they're throwing that on the media. But if a church does something good, they don't care, right? That's how it is. That's how it is. Let's keep going.
Encourage schools to refine young intellects, but neglect to discipline emotions. Just let those run wild. Until before you knew it, you'd have to have drug-sniffing dogs and metal detectors at every schoolhouse door.
Already happened.
Within a decade, I'd have prisons overflowing. I'd have judges promoting pornography. Soon I could evict God from the courthouse, then from the schoolhouse, and then from the houses of Congress. And in his...
So I would have prisons filling up specifically with specific type of people too. People that look like me, unfortunately, are filled up in prison. A lot of immigrant people are filled up in prison. And these are, and I'm not saying that it's only black people or Hispanic people or Indian people, but like it's all sorts of people, white people too. I was a correctional officer for a few years, and I realized that prison is a business. They need, as much as it is in Canada. In Canada, they spend about, I think it was $81,000. No, is it $81,000? It's either 81 or 145. I don't know why those two numbers are in my head, but it's either 81 or $145,000 to keep a prisoner in prison each year, right? But they want more. I don't know where their funding comes from, but they need prison to be full. They actually need prison to overflow. It's a business. The more prisoners, the more money, the more funding, the more payments for everybody else, right? These are things that they want going on. So as Paul Harvey saying, if I were the devil, this is what I would be doing. The devil is really doing it, and he's using the government to do it. And once again, the government has completely thrown away God. And I think I heard Joe Biden just declared on Easter was a transgender something day, and I'm like, why? But then I realized, I'm like, why am I even asking these type of questions? Because this is what these guys want to do. They don't care. This is normal to them. It's everyday thing to them. They enjoy this. They want to remove the things of Christ and put the things of the world. That's just the goal of theirs, right? But it is what it is, Christ will still reign. But at the end of the day, once again, we cannot be ignorant to the devices of the devil. The devil is throwing people in prison. Prison is it's like normal, especially for certain black people. Like it's like a badge of honor, which makes absolutely no sense. I tell people all the time, as a man going to prison, you are being degraded. You are being treated like an animal. They tell you to strip off your clothes. They tell you to squat so they can see what's in your butt. Excuse my language. Like they degrade you. Like they tell you, hey, it's time to lock up. You can't argue with the correction officer. You got to go lock up. Go to your room. He's like telling you, like, go to your room. That's pretty much what it is. And you got to go to your room. There's nothing you can do about it. I don't know why people glorify prison. I don't know why, especially black young men, why they glorify going to jail. It's not a badge of honor. It's extremely degrading. Extremely degrading. Let's keep going.
In his own churches, I would substitute psychology for religion and deify science. I would lure priests and pastors into misusing boys and girls and church money. If I were the devil, I'd make the symbol of Easter an egg and the symbol of Christmas a bottle.
So he says a lot of things here. It's hard because I'm a minister and to mention these things, but it's truthful. It's the truth. I hear a lot about ministers and people of religious authority, mistreating boys, girls, everything. And it's a big problem. And it's unfortunate that some people allow themselves to be used by the devil. Of course, I don't think, I can't say this. There are people who come in ministry with bad intentions, but then there are people who come in with good intentions, but they let themselves go to be used by the enemy because of certain things that happen while they're working. And the one thing you have to understand is that, as someone in spiritual leadership, you always got to be alert. You always have to be aware. You always have to be prepared for things that may happen and things that may not happen. You always got to be ready. You always got to be ready. And it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate to hear that. Paul Harvey saying is, if he was the devil, of course this wasn't happening at that time in the manner it's happening now. But every single thing he said is happening.
If I were the devil, I'd take from those who have and give to those who wanted until I had killed the incentive of the ambitious. And what'll you bet? I couldn't get whole states to promote gambling as the way to get rich.
Nobody wants to work no more. Nobody wants to work no more because I could just gamble, and it'll work out for me. I always used to tell people, people say that the Bible doesn't condone gambling because it says they cast lots and all these things. But of course, the Bible doesn't say it explicitly, but the Bible talks about being wise with the resources that you have. If you don't throw in money somewhere thinking that you're gonna become, you don't throw in $5 thinking that you're gonna get $1 million from that $5. That's just idiotic. Excuse my language. That's not wise. That's foolishness, right? But that's what people do when they gamble, and that's why people lose so much. So you'll be gambling thinking that you're gonna get a lot, You're gambling thinking that you're going to get a big prize, but you end up losing everything in the end. And now you become in a worse state. You become in a worse position where you have to do something worse to get that money that should have already belonged to you. And this is what's happening right now.
I would caution against extremes in hard work, in patriotism, in moral conduct. I would convince the young that marriage is old-fashioned, that swinging is more fun.
Yeah, I got to stop there. Majority of you who are listening to me know that I got married at 22. So if I were the devil, I would convince people that marriage is old-fashioned. Marriage is boring. Marriage is this. Marriage is that. And the devil is really winning right now. He's really winning. But one of my goals is to encourage all the young people, get married. Get married. I know people are saying, hey, you gotta have this, you gotta have that. Let me tell you something. If you have the right knowledge and understanding of what marriage is, it's gonna work. If you see marriage from the way God says to look at marriage, marriage is gonna work for you. Because now you're going in marriage without the mindset of divorce. Like, divorce should never be an option. When you like, if you're coming in from a kingdom perspective, divorce should never be an option, right? And if divorce is never an option, it will never happen. I believe that. But people right now, I actually see men on YouTube trying to give advice to younger men, telling them that, you know, I'm never gonna get married. You should neither. This, and that. Listen, that's all bull. Excuse my language. That's trash. You should get married. Marriage is good for you. Marriage is the plan of God. Family is the plan of God. Leadership is the plan of God. And as a man, if you're listening to me right now, God has called you to be a leader. If you're not married, what are you leading? If you don't have a family, what are you leading? Your dog? Come on, man. God has called you to be a leader. God has called you to be someone of authority, someone of importance, someone that leads to him. And that's the main thing. The reason you're leading your family, you're leading them to God. Number one, you're leading them to a victorious life. You're leading them to a fruitful life. But the problem is many men don't see themselves as leaders because many men don't know who they are. Many men don't know how to look at themselves. So they don't see the importance of marriage. They think that they can just have any lady and sleep with her and do whatever. I always tell it sounds like a childish thing, but I always say, listen, if you're not married, don't do what married people do. Because marriage comes with a lot. Commitment in relationship comes with a lot of commitment. It comes with a lot of commitment. You really have to put your heart into it. When it comes to love is a choice that you have to make. It's not an emotion that you feel. Like when people say, I don't love you anymore, you're choosing not to love me anymore. That's what it is. It's not about, you don't feel, because you're not always going to feel that feeling of love. But what the devil's doing is he's winning. He's winning in this aspect of saying that, hey, you guys just swing, man. Just go here, go there, and end up giving diseases and sicknesses to other people. Right. And now we're seeing a lot of people who have children with no parent or no father. That's the one thing I see a lot. And it hasn't died down. Like I consistently see children without fathers everywhere I go. And that's a big problem because fathers are an important part of the family. But we're praying for grace. We're praying that God will do something spectacular in our time, in our generation, that kingdom marriages will start rising up. Marriages in the church, young people would start really getting married, staying together, building families the way God intended for it to be. Let's keep going.
That what you see on TV is the way to be. And thus I could undress you in public, and I could lure you into bed with diseases for which there is no cure.
AIDS, HIV.
In other words, if I were the devil, I'd just keep right on doing what he's doing.
Man, this is some heavy stuff here. It's some heavy stuff here. And once again, this is a prophetic message. It's a prophetic warning to America. It's a prophetic warning to Canada. It's a prophetic warning to the church. It's a prophetic warning to the world. Paul Harvey saying if he was the devil, this is probably what he would do. And he's a human being. He's a human being. So for him to say all of this, and this is something that we see now, you know, the Bible, once again, I quoted this scripture already, but it says in 2 Corinthians chapter 2, verses 11, it says that we may not be taken advantage of. We must not be ignorant to the devices of the enemy. Don't be ignorant to the plans or the things that the devil is doing, because it's the devil's plan to steal, to kill, and to destroy. That's what he's here to do. And once the Bible has given us what he wants to do, we should probably be aware, be cautious, and counter all that he's trying to do. Right? That's all that matters. We have the truth. And we know how to triumph through Christ. So as this message has come today, this warning, this prophetic message, this whatever this is to you, I just wanted to bring this across because I thought it was something very important. I thought it was something very beneficial. And I think it's something that would, if you really sit down and listen to this, you'll know what to do with it. You'll make the right moves, and you'll have the right mindset towards moving on in the future. So once again, God bless you for spending your time today. Thank you for listening. All I ask you to do is to like, to share, and to subscribe. You know how the algorithms work. If you like this video, if you share this video, if you comment on this video, maybe just give me a comment. Let me know something. That'll be great. I really appreciate you. Once again, we'll meet again.